All right. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Yes, yes. Good evening, everyone. This is Sachin here. Today is the 11th of February, 2025. I want to welcome you all to week number 6 of year number 2 for our online personal transformation program. It is a real blessing for me that I have this opportunity to do this, and many thanks to all of you who are coming online live, as well as those who are doing this program independently on your own, in your own way. So, yes, right. So, with that, I would ask the participant. Yes, I'd like the participants to please just mute yourself for the time being until we get into our Q&A session. Quick review. We are always talking about energy and personal excellence. Energy is everything. Energy is life. Without it, nothing happens. There are 12 dimensions. There's core energy that flows through mind, brain, body, etc. There are 12 dimensions that are listed here. We should be familiar with those. And during this current series, we're at week number 6 on energy conservation. So we're going to continue on this path as we eventually move into energy revitalization in the next 13 weeks, and then energy transmutation. And then we will see how they all connect together in the 12 dimensions with regards to our overall theme for year number 2, which is sustained balance. Our goal, practically, this is a very practical program. There are ideas, but every idea is applied, it's application. My goal, your goal, everyone doing this journey together, our goal in year number 2 is to sustain balance. Obviously, there are some areas that are more balanced than others in our lives. We would find out where those deficiencies are and keep moving in this direction further. All right, so having said that, we're going to talk about personal boundaries today. So last time, we talked about family harmony and family relationships. So continuing on that theme, personal boundaries protect individual energy and prevent emotional drain. Clear boundaries allow for healthier relationships and reduced conflict. This is a very relevant point to keep in mind for all of us. Without boundaries, we cannot function in this world. We need them for our own freedom, for the benefit of others also. So if you look on the right-hand side here, several points are written about this particular slide. So first of all, this slide effectively communicates the importance of setting personal boundaries, emphasizing their role in preserving individual energy, preventing emotional exhaustion, and fostering healthier relationships. Let's understand that point very clearly. Setting the boundary itself, what does it do? It preserves individual energy. That's the point, first, number one. So if you are keeping notes in your book, in your workbook 1, you can put today's date there. Just put personal boundaries. This is the theme for today, right? And why? Why to even set them? Because it preserves individual energy. It prevents emotional exhaustion. That's the second point. And the third is that fostering healthier relationships. Let's probe this a little bit further. You can write that down. I want to talk about this a bit and see where it takes us. First of all, what is a boundary? In a family, in any relationship, whether it's an intimate one with parents, children, grandchildren, with friends, with friend circles, with extended family members, in any relationship structure, there is a need for boundary. But what is a boundary? What is that actually? Well, it has to do with the extent of interaction and energy exchange. Now, if you remember, the thought, emotion, memory, desire, energy. Remember those 5 and the 6. Remember, this is going to be also coming up this year in more detail. The 5 points are TEMDE, thought, emotion, memory, desire, energy. Thoughts meaning cognition, emotions meaning our emotive space, memories, desires, all desires, instincts, wants, wishes, all of that, and energy. This is 5, right on your hand. And the 6, which is also on your hand, if you want to put it that way, you can make, 5, and then you've got the 6th. That is quantity, quality, direction, dimension, depth, and structure. 6 points. Hopefully you've written those down. So a boundary that is set, when we set a boundary, that means an individual is clear how far to go in a relationship, how much interaction, the quantity, what is the quality of the interaction, what is the amount of energy that is expended in the interaction. It could be with an intimate person, intimate partner. It could be with a loved one. It could be with a grandchild. It could be with an extended family member. It could be with friends also, co-workers, and in general, anybody we know in general, right? There's always a limit. That limit has to be placed for the primary purpose of energy conservation. Now, remember how we are defining energy conservation. Energy is activated and some portion is utilized in the relationship, in the interaction, and another portion is conserved, right? So it's split into two parts, activated energy. So the dormant latent energy is not what we're talking about. That's just dormant latent potentiality present. But some part of it becomes active, and this is where, in many situations, problems begin in life because of the lack of setting healthy boundaries. In the field of psychology and clinical social work and other areas which I've worked in the past for many, many years, there's a lot of discussion, and even among therapists, there's a lot of intervention they do about setting healthy boundaries. And then they say, well, this relationship is a toxic relationship, and I'm in a toxic relationship. I cannot tell you how many times I heard that, almost from everybody. 95% of the patients I personally had over the last, so many years, hundreds, maybe in the thousands even, don't even remember. Almost everyone said there's a toxic relationship with somebody. How terrible is that? How sad is that so many people are having toxic, they use that word even, toxic relationship. Why? How do we get out of that? It is the science of energy conservation in terms of setting the right boundary while maintaining, which actually maintains freedom and allows for the other person or the other party to also be free. The boundary is set for freedom. It is not set for causing conflict, causing division or divisiveness. And this is where this problem occurs. People try to set some boundaries. First of all, they don't know how to do it. But if you know how to do it, you say, wait a minute, now if I put some boundaries, then, the person's not going to like it. I'm putting some limits. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. But guess what? If you don't do it, there's going to be trouble. There potentially can be. There's always a boundary somewhere. There's always a limit. There's always a limit in the interaction in any relationship with regards to TEMDE. Now, I'm going to speak about this. I know this is a little bit advanced, but since we're in year number 2, we're going to step up the intensity of the knowledge here, the concepts. All right. So the TEMDE are universal: thought, emotion, memory, desire, energy. But there's the intensity of each of those in a relationship. That how much cognition power, how much emotional power, how much personal resources in general, energy resources, are we devoting in that particular relationship? And what is the reason for that? What is the benefit for that? What is the amount of energy drainage in that? Is there energy being conserved in that? These are all questions to be asked. So one of the homework assignments this week is going to be to recognize what are boundaries, just to start with that idea. What are boundaries? Because without that, there is no life. There are always boundaries. There are absolutely unequivocally boundaries. And people who do not maintain them in the right way, in the healthy way, they wind up in a lot of emotional damage. Now, I want to be clear that maintaining healthy boundaries, setting them and maintaining them, is an act of love. Not maintaining them, not keeping them in the healthiest, best possible way, and either keeping too much distance, meaning that there's just like the relationship is too distant, or there's too much enmeshment, is not an act of love. So to find the right boundary is actually the manifestation of love. Now that might seem very strange. Like, what in the world does that even mean? I mean, how can that be? If I'm keeping boundaries with people, does that mean I love them? Absolutely. Because there is extraordinary respect for their life, their freedom, and your life and your freedom, and the interconnection of energetic patterns between your life and one person, person A, person B. The interconnection is of the best quality. It is of the right quantity. See these 2 points. It is the best quality interaction. That is what we are aiming for. We want the highest quality interaction. We want the right quantity of interaction. Now let's look at these 2 points first. Sometimes it happens. We get involved with someone, even if it's a close friend, get involved, and then it gets too much. Now we are lost in that person's life. And then it's just, there's so much trouble and problems that come. Now, closeness is beautiful. But how much to go? Because expectations increase, duties increase, wants and needs increase. The closer we get to anybody, there is more expectation that begins to increase, generally. And so one has to decide, if I'm going to get very close to someone, what am I in for? That's the way it goes. And am I ready for that? Is that what I want? Maybe you want it. Then be ready for it. And that's fine. So each person has to be aware of where those limitations are. And if we're not mindful of that, aware of that, then there is every possibility of a lot of negative emotion or worry or tension or at the very least contradiction inside. How do I now get out of this situation? I've heard this too. I cannot tell you how many times. Thousands of times. People have gone too far in some relationship with somebody of any kind. And now they cannot deal with it anymore. They say, I cannot deal with this anymore. Then some huge argument or conflict happens, and then there's a breakage. It's going too far. So one needs to know how far to go for oneself. I cannot tell you that. Sachin cannot tell you that, or Angel Wing cannot tell that thing. Each person has to determine where that boundary is. Now, how do you determine that? By recognizing, is there any type of imbalance in the TEMDE, the thought, emotion, memory, desire, energy. When there's an imbalance going on inside, there's a problem in the relationship. There's a problem in the boundary setting. That we're thinking too much about it, or there's too much, there's some difficulty somewhere. Maybe it's a problem in the memory. And the boundary is not just with an external person or situation outside. There's a boundary that we have to place even around our own memory structure, internal boundary, which most people don't know anything about that. We tend to think of boundaries externally, and that's like 50% of it. But the other 50% is internal boundary. To see, these are my memories with person. I'll use myself as an example. My father, as some of you know, passed away about 3.5 years ago. Right from childhood, I have all kinds of memories. He's in my memories, right, as an example. But if I don't put a boundary around those memories, it's easy to get lost, easy to get trapped, easy to get stuck, keep thinking and emotionally, one begins to drain internal power, emotional energy, intellectual energy by the feeling that this is lacking, this person is not there, this person is not there, this is over-analysis. Setting a boundary means appreciating and cherishing the memories, recognizing them from what they are, leaving them where they are, with respect, with love, exactly, and being free to be outside that boundary, that the memories are existing, but they are a limited phenomena. And Sachin is not going to be stuck inside that place. Not at all. Absolutely not. That doesn't mean I don't love my father. I have tremendous love for him. In fact, not to be stuck in the memories with him is love. And to get stuck in the memories with him is not love. It is ego-driven entanglement. It's a massive difference between the two. Massive difference. Real love for my father would be to appreciate his life, cherish his life, make my life the best I can to cherish his memory. Of course, I'm going to remember him, remember incidences, remember time spent with him. But then the sense that this is missing, this shouldn't have been said, I should have done this, he did this, somebody did that. All this analysis means what? We are no longer keeping that boundary, that Sachin is not keeping that healthy boundary. I'm getting lost inside the TEMDE. I'm getting lost inside memory. And getting lost inside memory is draining power. So energy is not being conserved. Energy is being activated and shattered, activated and shattered, activated and shattered. From a clinical point of view, a lot of diagnoses fit into this phenomena. I won't go into all that right now. You see, so the point about boundary, the word itself is a magical word. It's a magical word because it is meant for freedom. It is not meant for divisiveness. It is not meant to create negative emotion towards others. And it is definitely not meant to create any kind of a conflict with anybody. No, not at all. That is a difference between being very proactive, saying that this is my boundary with love and affection and care. One has to set that. And so that one can be free to move ahead further. Others are free to move in their direction. It's a judgment call. It's a qualitative judgment. There's no one God. There's no one salute. There's no one way to do this. It's a judgment. But the barometer is one's freedom, one's energy flow. That's the basic barometer. Now, having said all of this, how does this relate to the energy conservation point? The energy conservation point is where when we set a boundary, like I'm using myself as an example, if I set the boundary through meditation of the memories centered around my father, I'm putting a boundary around them. That means I am living outside that boundary. I can go inside there, but I can also come out of it. Because of the boundary, I've said I can think about it to this extent. It's in the past. There's a bigger wisdom that is at play, and then move on. And move on and keep afresh each day. Each experience is brand new in life. Keep moving ahead. Then I'm not going to be stuck there. Otherwise, most of our mind, humanity's mind in general, but our personal individualized mind, is trapped inside the memory structure. Is trapped, literally stuck there. And to be unstuck is to say, these are memories, fine, leave them alone. Respectfully leave them alone. And learn to integrate them back inside the present consciousness and move on from there. And when we start doing that, we are going to awaken the shield for energy conservation. So let me actually do a screen share here with you. Let's see what happened over here. Hold on a second here. Hold on. Give me just a moment. So this is the next thing to write down. There's a bunch of points that you can write down here, but there's a couple of things here. Let me current slide. Okay, there we are. And go to the presenter. Okay, you can see it on the right-hand side here. What is the core message? Boundaries as a shield for energy conservation, right? So the slide highlights that personal boundaries function as protective mechanisms, ensuring that mental, emotional, and physical energy is not drained by external demands. So it's a protective shield, and when we place that, there is a realization that each person that we are interacting with is on their own journey in life. Even though they may be dependent on us or they may be connected to us or whatever it might be, that's all true. But each person is still in their own journey, and one has to protect mental, emotional, physical energy. It cannot be drained by external demands. External demands are always going to be there. But how far to go? See, without clear boundaries, individuals risk what? What happens? Overexertion. Overexertion. Okay, hold on one second. I've got a message here. I don't know why that is happening. Let me do a screen share here. Let's try this one. Okay, so this is the slide that we're looking at. Are you able to see this now? On the right side here. Okay, good. All right. So without clear boundaries, individuals risk what? Overexertion emotionally getting overwhelmed, and conflicts. Right? So this is what we don't want. I don't want this. And I, as some of you know, in my own life, I went through some pretty serious stuff, right? But to make sure I don't get stuck in that old past and overexert myself by the past, this movement further, one step at a time, is essential. Right? So boundaries empower individuals to prioritize self-care while still maintaining meaningful and respectful connections with others. Meaningful and respectful connections with others are absolutely necessary. And this is a matter of reflection. Now, in this week, our homework assignment this week is trying to do this. That what is self-care? Am I taking care of me? That's not being selfish or anything like that. That is necessary. Am I taking care of me? And while maintaining meaningful and respectful connections. Is my connection with others meaningful? Sometimes it may not be meaningful. It could be frivolous, or it could be, I don't know, whatever. One has to see that. All right. Okay, so the visual of a person sitting inside a glowing shield powerfully represents the protective nature of boundaries. See the picture that you see there? It's a beautiful picture. It's just amazing what AI can do, right? It generated this fantastic picture for me. And just amazing. So the visual of a person inside of a glowing shield powerfully represents the protective nature of boundaries. How beautiful is that? That's the shield we have to have. The TEMDE, all 5 of them need a shield. We can develop a shield around them. That doesn't mean like a cocoon where somebody's getting, isolated. No, a shield is for protection. The radiant energy field suggests personal vitality, while external figures at a distance illustrate how boundaries regulate interaction. It's a very beautiful, beautiful image that has been generated. It speaks a lot of truth. The shield metaphor implies that boundaries do not isolate individuals, but serve as a selective filter, allowing positive interactions while blocking harmful interactions. So another homework assignment, another point to consider this week: where are my positive interactions? And where do harmful interactions need to be blocked? Very interesting. And there's no one answer to this. It's not black and white. There's a lot of soul searching and figuring out creative ways to deal with the relationships that have already been built. Right? Very interesting. Oh, wait a minute. Let's go back. What happened there? What happened there? Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay, let's see. Where was I? Okay, boundaries as energy filter systems. Is this the right? Hold on a second. I guess no. Wait a minute. Where did that go? Here it is. There it is. Okay, so symbolism of the image. The radiant energy field suggests personal vitality. And that's the key point. That personal vitality, day to day, hour to hour. We are always interacting, doing all kinds of things. The vitality that just flows. While external figures at a distance illustrate how boundaries regulate interaction. The interactions we have can be regulated very, very carefully. So this is all practical stuff, completely, day to day. What will this do? The goal is to balance all 12 dimensions. The goal in the current series is to conserve energy. It's energy conservation. Do not waste it. The more we conserve it, the more available it is for doing fantastic things that we want to do in life. It's totally up to us. The shield metaphor implies that boundaries do not isolate individuals, but serve as a selective filter. Right? This is the key point. It's a selective filter, allowing positive interaction while blocking harmful influences. All right. Now, the floating energy lines and bursts reinforce the concept that maintaining strong personal boundaries enhances inner strength and balance. That's exactly what we're trying to do, exactly what it says there. we have to, and we must, and we are going to enhance inner strength. Have there been ups and downs in life? Yes. Are sometimes we moving in circles? Yes. Don't worry about it. Don't get beat up by that past deficiencies. Use them for growth, to enhance inner strength and balance. Every day we are alive is an opportunity for self-mastery. In Sachin's perspective, and even Angel Wing's guiding principle, self-mastery is our goal, is one of the three major goals. And to get to that point, enhancing inner strength, one's own inner strength, is not to be damaged, not to be diminished. And balance has to be there. Balance is not optional. Enhancing inner strength is not optional for anybody. It has to be there. And if it's not there, there's going to be unnecessary problems and unnecessary kinds of difficulties in life that just, that don't serve us. Now, let's go further. Application to emotional well-being and conflict resolution. I mentioned this earlier today. Emotions need to be the healthiest quality, the best quality emotion. See the TEMDE, and then you've got the quality, quantity, direction, dimension, depth, and structure. The quality of each of those five. So thoughts, emotions, memories, desires, energy. Emotions, the quality of emotion. Quantity, quality of emotion. Sachin can decide after even before this presentation started, I did this actually. About a half an hour before, I just sat for a couple of minutes and said, what is my intention behind doing this presentation? What is the emotion? So to bring oneself into the quality of emotion that one wants to be in. See, we don't think of it that way. We think of our emotions are just running rampant because we let them run rampant. Yes, we have the power through meditation, through prayer, through inner reflection, awareness, choiceless awareness, many ways to really set the emotional frequency that we want. And the moment we start setting our own emotional frequency, the right boundaries are going to appear where they need to be. Those boundaries are not for division or for conflict. It is for conflict reduction. So personal boundaries help manage expectations in relationships, reducing misunderstandings and unnecessary conflicts. I want to cover at some point about expectations in more detail. We'll do a whole session on that. We'll probably do a whole series on that in an Angel Wing retreat because it's an extensive subject. But expectations are natural in life. They need to be reasonable. And if they're not fulfilled, remain very steady. Don't get overwhelmed by it. And expectations in relationships are always present. But they need to be manageable. They need to be kept within a certain range so that misunderstandings also need to be reduced. That's another huge problem in life. Person is saying one thing, thinking something else, something third thing is understood. There's a massive divide in communication. So reduce misunderstanding. That means communicate better. Communicate more clearly. Try to ensure that the other person has understood one's own intention. Right? So communication is another big part of this. And conflict, we want to get to the point in life, if we're not already there, where not a single conflict exists. Not with anybody on the outside who is present now, not with anybody who was there in the past, but the conflicts are still living in our head. We don't want that. We don't want that trash. It's trash. We don't want the trash of the past to contaminate the beauty of the present. We don't need to keep bringing that stuff up. Nothing ever is going to come out of it, ever. Not under any circumstances. This is where, again, prayer, meditation, reflection, many techniques are there. And we have been talking about that, and I'll be putting supplementary materials on how to do that exactly. But it's also quite straightforward. Well, one recognizes in the present, oh, my mind is going here. It's pulling up trash from the past. Do not bring that back into the present and contaminate one's life. Put the boundary around that trash. Like a trash bag. This might sound like a silly example. Might sound like a very silly example. But can you imagine that every day that trash accumulates in our kitchen, in our home, in our bathrooms? that we start throwing it around anywhere without putting it in a bag. What's a trash bag? It's a boundary. To the trash bag analogy. Let's talk about trash bag for a moment. Something interesting. Very, very simple. We have all kinds of trash that accumulates every single week. Once a week, in my development, every Wednesday, which will be tomorrow morning, the trash person will come and take everybody's trash away. But can you imagine what one's apartment or home would be like? We are throwing anything that we usually throw in the trash bin. We're just throwing it anywhere, just throwing it or just piling it up somewhere. How horrific that would be. A trash bag is teaching us what we need to do in our life for energy conservation. You can learn the greatest truths from the simplest observations in life. A trash bag is necessary. Can you imagine all the trash in the bathroom? How much trash is there throughout the whole week? We know what to keep and what to throw away. We know that. And to throw away, we have to have a trash bag, which is a boundary, and then that has to be sealed, and then it has to be thrown out. Now, these analogies are not perfect. There is massive amounts of, quote, stuff that doesn't serve us anymore that is inside our memories, inside our experiences. Take it, wrap it up, and carefully section it away. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to be able to do some brain surgery and take the memory out. I don't mean it that way. That's not what I'm talking about. We're talking about a vision to keep all of that material within a certain range for what it is and leave it alone and no longer play around with that. We have gained wisdom from it, gained knowledge from it. There is some purpose behind it. It's very simple. It's very simple. I'll use an example. This might sound really silly for me to say some of these things. But take a small container of applesauce. In the afternoon today, I had two small containers of applesauce. But what do I need to do to eat the applesauce? I have to open it, and then I can eat the applesauce. But the container, that container that was it was in, I have to throw that away. My goal is to eat what I want to eat from there, not the container. Similarly, the memories we have energy within them. Pull that energy out of there, and gain wisdom from the experience itself, and leave the harmful, entangled, the painful nature of it. Leave everything of that is of no relevance. Leave that aside. And when we learn the art of pulling energy out of memory, then we are activating it, bringing it into a conscious state, and then reconnecting it again consciously. That is all part of self-mastery. That's going to be talked about in years 3 and 4 in much more detail. How to do this. Even to understand this concept is a big thing. Even just take any container we buy, any can we buy, anything we buy from the Acme everything is in a container. The container is not the goal. The content inside is the goal. Similarly, the energy inside the memories, because memory is a container. The content inside is the goal in what sense? For wisdom. But even take it one step further, that it's not even just the content, it's the energy that is stuck inside that content that needs to be pulled out. So now you can look at it without any kind of energetic engulfment in the content. And these things, only Sachin can express this in year number 2, not in year number 1. That's why it's taken us, this is the whole last year went by to set the foundation for these ideas. These are very advanced things. Advanced in what sense? Most people have never even recognized that this is possible. And this is where all the trouble begins. You see, so our memories are there to guide us. Now, at the same time, there is energy flow within them. But when we remember them, there is a qualitative experience. So it's a matter of breathing through it, matter of realizing that doesn't exist anymore. In fact, nothing but the present exists. So whatever has happened in the past, that which doesn't serve us anymore, recognize it meditatively, reflectively, or in a more religious sense, recognize it and leave it alone. and take it. It's not about suppressing it. It's not about escaping from it. It's not about overly getting stuck with it. It is about seeing it and putting a boundary around it. This is the power of deliberately setting a mindful boundary. Or this is internal. And the same thing applies externally. The same thing applies externally. Which means when we do that, we are allowing the energy of love to flow without any boundary. It's quite extraordinary, quite amazing, absolutely amazing when we move into this state. Okay, so having said that, let's go back to the slides for a moment. I want to get to the, there's a whole lot of stuff here, but again, it's not the quantity of material, folks. It's the quality of realization. Let me hold on one moment here. Hopefully you can see this here. Let's see what happened. Let's go back to that again. Hold on. Just a moment. Okay, so I'm going to skip ahead. I'm going to go to the quantum quality here for this week. Let's see, where is that? It's down here. Okay, and that is authenticity. Again, you see this quality, this is principle number 6. Or the quantum principle number 6 for this week is authenticity. You should have had that written down already. I still have to send you all the actual full list of the principles. But these are the same principles. There's 52 of them. We're in week number 6, principle number 6. And what I've done in this year's series, I've taken those same principles and created a bunch of slides regarding those ideas. And you can read through that later if you want. What is authenticity? It's being true to oneself. It's being true. But how can Sachin be true to values, beliefs, my expression of who I am until I am aware of that? That is personal integrity. So why is it important? It just contributes to just a beautiful life. There's no need to put on facades and these things unnecessarily. Be yourself as much as you can. Sachin can be himself as much as he can. That's good enough. We are so overly concerned about what other people are thinking about us. Yeah, that's necessary. It's not like that's not important, but it's sometimes that's just way, way, way too much. Right? So there's a lot of different points here about authenticity. The main point here is that it increases well-being. It improves relationships. It's good for personal growth. It's a great quality. I mean, there's a lot of information here about it. We don't want to be stuck in the words. We want to be in that quality rather than simply talk about it or, whatever. It's to be authentic to oneself. It has a lot of benefit. And the reason is very simple, because the internal conflicts are no longer present. That's the reason why. That is the main reason why. All right, so I'm going to move ahead here because we have another 15 minutes left here. There's a couple of other points here. Yes, regular reflection, setting personal goals. Those things are just common points here. So I want to do the song next. But before I do that, the homework exercise for this week is, again, I've given some already in the recording. Where is energy being conserved this week? Given all these ideas that you've heard today, and you'll have them in audio form or in YouTube video probably tomorrow sometime, you'll have that available. Where, when, how, and for what purpose am I conserving personal energy? What does it mean to me? And then you can write about it. You can even make a recording about it. If you want to send it to me, I'm happy to listen to any recordings you want to send, or keep it for yourself. That's perfectly fine. At some point in the future, we want to set up some accountability partners and stuff like that. But maybe we'll do that later on sometime this year. We'll see. All right, so having said that, let's listen to our song. Then we'll be able to end on time also.